I am successful, confident, powerful, and strong. I am an unstoppable force of nature. I can be whatever I want to be. I am independent and self-sufficient. I must follow my heart, be true to myself, and live my truth. Each and every day, I am getting closer to achieving my goals.
Come on, Jake, you got this. I am strong.
Note to self, I am going to make you proud. I am fit.
I am fit.
I am
strong.
Goes to our discipleship pastor, Jake Harp, for playing the part of some of the lies that our culture is telling us. I want to talk about that today. And to do that, to get into that message, I want to play a little game. Some of you probably know this game well. Who knows the game Two Truths and a Lie? I'm going to play this game. You're spotting the lie. I'm going to tell you two truths and a lie. You're trying to decide which one is the lie. Since I'm standing up here with the mic, I'll go first. You can email me your participation 3 statements later, and I'll try to pick your lie. Here we go. Here's the first one. I got to get my poker face on. I don't want to give it away with my face. I dislocated my shoulder while skiing. There's a theme to these 3 statements. We'll call it stupid things that Stan has done to injure his body over the years. Here's the first one. You're trying to decide which one is the lie. I dislocated my shoulder while skiing. The story gets better. Then I Mel Gibsoned it back in. It was dangling by the socket, out of the joint. Did you see that years ago? Lethal Weapon. He pops the shoulder back in. I did that on the ski slope. That's the first one, all right? Here's the second one. Again, stupid things that Stan has done to injure his body. I broke 2 ribs coming off of a wave runner. You're deciding which one of these is the lie, all right? Here's the third one. I broke my wrist playing soccer. All right, so decide. Shoulder, ribs, wrist. Ouch, ouch, ouch. You got it? Go ahead and tell your neighbor which one you think is the lie. You're spotting the lie, right? All right, show of hands. We'll keep you honest. How many of you think the lie is the shoulder? Let me see your hands. That's the lie. The shoulder is the lie. Well, no, that one's true, unfortunately. I was a youth pastor, and I had a bunch of kids on a ski trip. The worst part of that story, well, there were several worst parts of that story. One of them being my doctor keeps telling me one of these days I'm going to have that surgery because I still have a trick shoulder. It came out a couple times playing basketball and doing other things. The worst part of the injury was I was the dude driving the church van that was hauling the trailer with all of our gear on this ski trip. So I had to drive back from Michigan to Bloomington. We lived there at the time. And every bump on I-69, that was awful. I'm afraid that was true. Okay, here's the second one. Broke 2 ribs coming off of a wave runner. How many of you would say, well, that's definitely a lie? Water, you don't break things in water. Well, I'm afraid that one is also true. We were on a borrowed wave runner. We had 2 of them, my brother and the guy that owned the wave runners, and we were taking turns because there were 3 of us on Lake Monroe, taking turns on the back of the wave runner. By the way, that's not where you want to be, especially when your brother has the throttle. And we were jumping the wake behind some of those big boats on Lake Monroe. We were going way too fast. If you've ever done this before, you know if you come off when you're going too fast, water feels kind of like concrete. And I bounced along, skipped along the top like a skipping stone. And I came up, and you get the air knocked out of you. And it's like, I can't, like that happened to me. And when I did that, searing pain in my side. By the way, this is also when I learned that your preacher does not need to be on Vicodin. My doctor prescribed that to me. I took one of those, and I went and sat down on the couch, and I told Dawn, I can't take those anymore because I don't feel my side, but I can't feel anything else. And I think I like that too much. And so I haven't taken a Vicodin since that day. All right, which leaves, how many of you said the lie was you broke your wrist playing soccer? Yeah. It wasn't soccer. It was pickup football, tackle football, no pads. I was in college. It was a Sunday afternoon. I made the tackle, but I broke my wrist. And come to find out, it's one of the slowest healing bones in your body. It still aches when the weather changes. The worst part of that story is I was working on a hog farm at the time, worked my way through college on a farm, and every 3 weeks I had to go in and have them re-x-ray it, cut off the old one because it stank. And they'd put on a new wrist cast. And I wasn't playing soccer, I was playing football. I was sharing this with Dawn last night. She's like, I hate it when people do that, when you're playing that game and you're just changing one little thing. That's not a complete lie. You did break your wrist. Yeah. We mess with shades of the truth, right? If you want to be good at two truths and a lie, you know this secret, you got to make your lie believable. And make it related to the truth. Make it shades of gray, shades of the truth. If you speak in terms of black and white, this is how you lose at two truths and a lie, but this is how you win at life. Welcome to week 3 of I Am, He Is. We're pushing back on lies that our culture tells us. Week 1, recap here. The title of that message was Follow Your Heart. Of course, Jesus said clearly, your heart is a liar. Follow me, I don't lie to you. Week 2, last week, oh my goodness, some of you were on fall break. You missed an incredible weekend here at Venture. The message, tongue-in-cheek, was titled, Be True to Yourself. We had one of our missionaries, Ajay Law, was here, and he preached a powerful message. No, Jesus says, don't be true to yourself, but you need to deny yourself. Take up your cross daily and follow me. And he told personal stories about persecution in India. If you missed last week, by the way, we had to take that message down off the website because, well, for safety reasons, for him. If you would like to see that message, and by the way, I would encourage you to go back and watch it. We'll have to send you a private link. We would ask you not to share that. But if you email me or one of our staff team here at Venture, we can send you a private link to that. If you're a part of our church, you can watch it, and you'll be blessed by that message. I promise you. It'll challenge you. This week, the title is Live Your Truth. You maybe heard Jake whisper that or kind of shout it as he was on that treadmill there in that video. This is a lie our culture tells us, to live your truth. Jesus pushes back strongly. He says, I am the truth. Next week, the title is Believe in Yourself. He says, believe in me. We'll talk about that next week. All of the above, he didn't say that. What did he say? John chapter 14, verse 6, he couldn't be more clear. He says, I am the way. Believe in me. I am the truth. It's not your truth. It's me, the very person and nature of Jesus Christ. He says, I am the way. We'll talk about that next week. I am the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Jesus says, your eternal destination, the Heavenly Father. Well, I'm the path that will get you there. I'm excited about today's message. We're diving into this important thing that Jesus says about himself. He says, I am the truth. Now, I want you to think about that for a minute. He says, he's not just a truth, not just one of many truths. Very clearly, he says, I am the truth. In a world that's constantly telling us to find our own truth, Jesus steps in and he says, no. He says, I am the truth. We live in a culture that is obsessed with truth, but it's incredibly confused about it. We hear phrases like live your truth or speak your truth, and while that might sound nice, what does that actually mean? Is truth something that we can just create for ourselves, or is it something bigger, something objective that applies to everyone, everywhere? I would submit to you that it's that. Jesus makes it clear, John 14. That truth isn't just an abstract idea. It's not something we manufacture. It's not relative. Rather, truth is a person. Jesus didn't say, I'll show you the truth. I'll teach you the truth. He said, I am the truth. And I want to explore that today because I believe that this can anchor us in a world that feels at times like it's spinning out of control. I think it can give us confidence when things around us seem uncertain. I believe that anchoring to the truth can change everything. So first, a definition. Let's define truth. Then 7 truths, no lies. It's not a game. Let's start with a question. What is truth? This is an age-old question. It's at least 2,000 years old because we find it in our Bible. There's this moment where Jesus is standing in front of Pontius Pilate. He's the consummate politician. And he asks this question. Jesus is being accused of being a king. The Jewish leaders are manipulating the story just a little bit. They're also playing a political game. They're trying to get him killed. None of these players recognize that they're a part of a much larger cosmic story that God is telling. Here's Jesus beaten. He's just been abused. Standing in front of Pontius Pilate. There's some relative truth to be found here. Jesus says, my kingdom is not of this world. If it were, he's just been asked, are you a king? If it were, my servants would fight to prevent my arrest by the Jewish leaders, but now my kingdom is from another place. Pontius Pilate, buddy, you don't even understand what is bigger, the bigger story at play here. Oh, you're a king. Aha, said Pilate. Jesus answered, well, you say that I'm a king. In fact, the reason I was born and came into this world is to testify, here's our word, to the truth. It's my purpose for being here. Everyone on the side of truth listens to me. And then this politician, Pontius Pilate retorts, the truth? What is truth? It's amazing that Pilate has standing right in front of him the actual embodiment of truth, and he missed it. Like Pilate, every person is in search of the truth, most asking the same question, but I want to know, do they really want the answer? As our society becomes more and more enlightened, we appear to be slipping further away from how we define and understand truth. Could make this question more important maybe than ever. So let's talk about the nature of truth. You've got objective truth and you've got relative truth. And I would tell you in a world today, people like to say, we heard it in the video and those mantras that we repeat to ourselves that gurus teach us to say, truth is relative. That's what we hear over and over and over again. Things like, you have your truth, I have my truth, and as long as we don't hurt each other, well, hey, we're good. It's all good. But here's the problem. If truth is relative, it stops being truth. If something is true for you, not for me, can it really be truth? I was just back visiting my hometown for my dad's 80th birthday party yesterday and drove past one of the ball fields I used to play on. There was a basketball hoop there, and I used to shoot hoops there, and I was thinking about the game of basketball. There are rules to basketball. There's a clear out of bounds line. There are clearer points for a shot if you shoot it on this side of the three-point line or this side of the three-point line. There's rules like if you step out of bounds, they're going to blow the whistle on you. That's objective truth. That's how the game works. But what if during the game somebody decides to ignore the rules? And you say, well, hey, the out of bounds line doesn't matter for me. That's my truth. Well, chaos. Chaos. The playground goes crazy. In the same way, if truth is just whatever we make out of it, we end up with chaos. There's no foundation, nothing we can stand on. And if we're honest, we all know that deep down. We crave something solid. We crave something that we can rely on. Parents, your kids get this. They actually crave boundaries. There's safety and security in the boundaries that you set for them, and then you blow the whistle occasionally and enforce them for them. Don't play in the highway. Bad things happen in the highway, so here's a rule. Here's a truth we're going to live by. That's why Jesus' words in John chapter 14 are so powerful. He's saying truth isn't something that you invent. You don't just make this up. It's something that you discover. Hear this, it's found in me. So the difference between absolute truth and relative truth, well, here's an example, a biblical example of absolute truth. Jesus is Lord. This is absolute truth from your Bible, regardless of how you feel about that statement. It's true. Regardless of what you think about it, even if you believe it or not, that doesn't make it more or less true. Here's a verse. Philippians, we did the Joy series earlier this year, and we discovered in the middle of that series together, this is from an old song. The church has been singing, reminding themselves where truth is anchored for at least 2,000 years now. Therefore, God exalted him, Jesus, to the highest place and gave him the name that's above every name, that at the name of Jesus, every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue acknowledge that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Every knee, did you notice, is going to bow. Every tongue will one of these days confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. On that day, opinions and feelings won't matter because everyone will have to acknowledge that Jesus is Lord. Whether you agree or not makes this truth absolute. Now, whether you agree, if it does make it doesn't change based on your opinion. So what's the difference between absolute truth and relative truth? Well, relative truth would be this idea. You would say, you have your truth and I have mine. Relative truth is a rejection of absolute truth. People embrace this because it allows them to create their own reality and frees them then to do whatever they want to do. And I think this is a problem that Paul, the Apostle Paul, actually warned us about, again, almost 2,000 years ago. He's giving encouragement to young Timothy. Look at this in 2 Timothy chapter 4. He says, preach the word, be prepared in season and out of season. Correct, rebuke, and encourage with great patience and careful instruction. For the time will come, I would submit that it might have come now already, when people will not put up with sound doctrine. Instead, to suit their own desires, this is relative truth, they will gather around them a great number of teachers to say what their itching ears want to hear. They'll turn their ears away from the truth and turn aside to myths. This is relative truth. People are surrounded in this age we're living in. People are surrounding themselves with people who will tell them the truth that they want to hear. Gives them the freedom to justify how they lived and how they're basing their lives on a truth that's not really truth at all. So what did I say? 7 truths, no lies. If you're taking notes, you might want to write these down. Here's the first one. The first truth is that truth is not just a concept. It's a person. It's a person. Think about the implications of this. If Jesus is the truth he claimed he was, that means that truth isn't just a set of facts or principles. It's not just about getting the right answers on a theological quiz. Truth, rather, is found in a relationship. It's found in knowing Jesus. John chapter 1 says clearly the Word, speaking of Jesus, the Word became flesh, a person, and made his dwelling among us. We've seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son who came from the Father, get this, full of grace, and there's our word, truth. Jesus is full of grace and truth. Now, when we look at the life of Jesus, we see that truth isn't cold, it's not impersonal, rather, it's relational. Jesus didn't just come to drop some truth bombs on us and then back up and leave us to figure it out. He came to show us that truth is wrapped in grace and love. Now, I don't know about you, but that's good news for me. Because if truth was just about getting everything right all the time, I'd be in trouble. But Jesus shows us that truth is about knowing him. It's about walking with him. It's about letting his life shape mine. So if you want to know the truth, look at Jesus. Look at how he lived. Look at how he treated people. Look at how he responded to the outcasts and the sinners. How he responded even to his enemies. That's the truth in action. Here's the second truth. Remember, 7 truths, no lies. If you're taking notes, write this one down. The truth, well, it sets us free. The truth has power if you let it. It's a powerful statement that Jesus made about the truth. He said in John chapter 8, verse 32, he said, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." If he's speaking of himself, there's powerful implications to that. I think that we can all agree that freedom is something that you want, that I want. Everybody wants freedom, and we want to be free from something. Some of us are probably here this morning chasing that freedom. Maybe it's freedom from guilt, freedom from fear, freedom from shame, maybe freedom from the pressures of the world. Here's the interesting thing. Jesus says that freedom comes from knowing the truth. Notice he didn't say the truth's going to make your life easier or that the truth will make everybody like you. He says the truth will set you free. What kind of freedom is he talking about? I believe this, that Jesus is talking about freedom that comes when we align our lives with the way things really are. That's a fancy way of saying the truth. Freedom is when we align our lives with the way things really are, when we live in truth, when we experience the kind of freedom that comes only from walking in the light. Well, when we live in deception, whether it's deceiving ourselves or deceiving others, we're actually in bondage. It'd be a definition of bondage, being trapped in a world that isn't real, aside from the truth. Think about how exhausting it is to live a lie. Have you ever been caught in a lie? Or rather, maybe to keep from getting caught in a lie, you have to make up another lie and then another lie to support that one. And before you know it, you get, oh my goodness, I don't even know which end is up anymore. It's exhausting to live a lie. Maybe it's pretending to be somebody you're not. Maybe it's covering up a mistake. Maybe it's trying to convince yourself that something wrong is actually right. Maybe that is a sin issue. This is draining. This is no way to live because the lie, the deception, this is a burden, bondage. It weighs on you. But when you come into the light, when you live in the truth, there's freedom there. There's peace. I grabbed this screenshot from a 100-year-old film that told us 100 years ago this lesson. It's called the monkey trap. If you're a hunter in the jungle and you want to catch a monkey, this is how you do it. The monkey reaches in, there's some tasty treat or morsel in this gourd or bucket or whatever, and the opening is just big enough for him to get his hand in, and he grabs the banana or whatever's in there, and all he has to do is let go, but he won't let go, and so he's stuck, and the hunter comes and gets him. Game over. Here's the deal. We're only bound by our refusal to let go. We can be like that, right? There are some popular lies that Christians don't let go of. Here's just a few lies that the enemy uses against followers of Jesus. And let me encourage you, there's ways to be free of these. Here's a lie. You'll never be good enough, so don't bother trying. Some of us might be caught in the bondage of that lie. Freedom would be letting go. We combat this lie by trusting God's righteousness protects us from the voice of the accuser who's whispering that lie in our ears. We can live right from a position of being made right in Jesus himself because he's the truth. The truth will set you free. Here's a lie. You don't have anything of value to offer others. Believing this lie leads to self-doubt. We combat this lie by trusting God's plan and purpose for our lives. Listen, you are his masterpiece, his workmanship. We're created in Christ Jesus, other verses tell us, for good works. He's given us what we need for where He's placed us to serve. That's a lie. Don't believe it. Here's a lie. That lying is okay as long as it protects you or others from the painful truth. Some of us buy into that lie. It leads to a habit of lying. Some people don't even realize that lying has become then a way of life, and we combat this lie by ruthlessly telling the truth. Living with a clear conscience leads to peace and freedom. Practicing truth means if it's not true, don't believe it, don't think it, and don't speak it. Lying is okay. Well, that's a lie. Here's another one. Here's a lie. You're a hypocrite. And just stay there. This is negative self-talk that causes Christians to spiral down. Believing this lie shows up maybe then in judging or criticizing ourselves when we miss the mark, not giving ourselves grace the way Jesus gives us grace. We combat this lie by trusting God's word to do what it says to renew our minds. How about this lie? They're a hypocrite. I'm a hypocrite. They're a hypocrite. Oh my goodness, believing in this lie shows up in judging or criticizing others when they miss the mark. We combat this lie by committing to stand firm on truth and standing together with grace. Paul says this in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 2, always be humble and gentle, be patient with each other, making allowances for each other's faults. Why? Because of your love. Jesus is inviting us to live in that kind of freedom. He's inviting us to stop pretending, to stop hiding, to stop chasing after things that don't satisfy, and instead to follow the one who is truth. Here's the third. 7 truths, no lies. There is a truth in a world of lies. If you find yourself like you feel like I'm just surrounded with this everywhere, we live in a world that's constantly trying to convince us of lies. We're bombarded with messages that tell us we need more stuff to be happy. We're told that success is measured by how much money we make or maybe how many followers we have on social media. We're told that the meaning of life is found in pleasure, comfort, and self-fulfillment. Let's be honest, those lies can be pretty convincing, can't they? They're everywhere. And they appeal to something deep inside of us, human nature. But here's the problem. Those lies don't deliver on what they promise. And the more we feed on lies, the emptier we feel. Jesus offers a different way. He offers us truth. And the truth he offers is this. Listen, you were made for more. You were made to know God. You were made to live in relationship with your Creator. You were made to be loved, or to love rather, and be loved. Not based on what you can achieve or how you look, but because you are a child of God. Can I get you right now to set down your notes for a minute and simply stand up? Stand up with me because I want us to internalize this. I had somebody reach out to me not long ago in our church and ask me about a poem that I keep taped in my Bible. It's been a few years since I've read this to you. I love this because this poem, well, I need to read it. It teaches me that there's power in living from approval, not for approval. It's been a while since we've done this, so would you just let these words, well, internalize them as you repeat them after me. You're God's child. Let's practice. Say this after me. I am God's child. I am God's child. I may be young. I may be old. I may be rich. I may be poor. I may be boy. I may be girl. I am God's child. I may be black. I may be white. I may be red. I may be yellow. I am God's child. I may be fat. I may be lean. I may be bright. I may be dim. I may be fast. I may be slow. I am God's child. I am God's child. I may be blind. I may be lame. I may be strong. I may be weak. I may be up. I may be down. I am God's child. I may be bald. I may have hair. I may be dark. I may be fair. I am God's child. I may be open. I may be closed. I may be here. I may go there. I may follow. I may run. I am God's child. I am God's child. I may stand. I may fall. I may blossom. I may wither. I may sin. I may forgive. I am God's child. I may speak. I may listen. I may preach. I may pray. I am God's child. I may be loud. I may be soft. I may be steady. I may waver. I may think. I may feel. I am God's child. I am God's child. I am God's child. I do have faith. I so believe. I do hear. I do obey. I am God's child. I have value. I have worth. You have value. You have worth. I am God's child. You are God's child. We are God's child. Have a seat. I have to repeat truths like that to myself. Maybe I pray that's helpful for you. You're God's child. That's the truth. When we live in that truth, we find freedom. I told you, 7 truths, no lies. We're going to go quick here with the last few. Number 4, living in the truth is challenging. I don't have to convince you of that. It's so easy to buy into the lies that the culture tells us. That's why it's important to repeat truths like that. I'm God's child. I have value. I have worth apart from what the world tells me I have to earn or achieve to feel. Here's the beautiful thing about Jesus. He never gives us truth without grace. It says that Jesus came full of grace and truth in John chapter 1, verse 14 that we just read. It's not one or the other, it's both. And this is what makes his truth so powerful. It's truth wrapped in love. It's a truth that leads to transformation, not condemnation. 7 truths, no lies. Here's the 5th. Jesus is the foundation of truth. You build the whole thing, your whole life, on the foundation of his truth. And then, like he taught in the Sermon on the Mountain, at Matthew chapter 7, verse 24, the parable of the 2 builders. Do you remember the rains came down and the floods came up? The rains came down and the floods came up. The house on the rock, well, it stood because it's based on truth. What's the difference between those 2 foundations, sand and rock? Well, one builder built his life on truth and the other built his life on something that couldn't withstand the pressures of life. Listen, if we build our lives on the truth of who Jesus is, if we make him the foundation, we can weather the storms. We can face the challenges. 7 truths, no lies. Here's the 6th. He wants you to walk with him in the truth. What's this look like? Well, walking in the truth means we need to know Jesus. He's the truth. The more we know him, the more we'll know the truth. We get to know him through his word, through prayer, through worship, through community with other believers. Walking in the truth means then letting that truth shape our lives. We have to be honest with ourselves. Sometimes we avoid the truth because it's uncomfortable. But walking in the truth means we're willing to confront those areas of our life that really need to change. It's being humble enough to admit when we've been wrong and then being willing to grow. Walking in the truth means we're willing to share that truth with others. How are you doing in that area of your life? You have one life to invest. Who's the one life you're investing in? This prayer board out here in the lobby. You, if you've been around Venture for a while, you've got some initials written on light bulbs out there. How are you doing in that area of life? Are you speaking the truth to others as well? 7 lies, or 7 truths rather, no lies. Here's the last one. You can live free from lies. Where does this leave us today? I want to leave you with this thought. Jesus is the truth. And that truth, well, it's designed to set us free. Free from the lies the world tries to sell us. Free from the pressure to be something that we're not. Free from the weight of our past mistakes. Free to live the life that God created us to live. Can I get you to stand back up with me? I want to pray over you, and then we're going to respond with worship. My prayer for you today is that you would know the truth, not just in your head, but also in your heart. That you would experience the freedom that comes from living in the truth of who Jesus is and what he's done for you. And that you'd have the courage to walk in that truth every day, including this day. Would you pray with me?